What up, guys? Swift here, breaking down 4 undrafted free agents to watch out for this season. The Bears rookies will be at Hallis Hall starting today for our first rookie mini camp going on this weekend. I will, of course, be going over that later as well. My videos of Velus Jones Jr. and Kyler Gordon are both getting very close to being finished. Look out for those videos this weekend. Back to our undrafted guys, we signed a ton. So I will make a few more of these videos going forward as well. Let me know if there's a special undrafted guy you want me to break down. First up is the kid whose highlight reel I cannot get enough of, the 6'1", 195-pound kid from Slippery Rock University, Hentry Litwin. He's from a Division II program where he was an All-American. In 2019, he had over 100 catches for 1,500 yards and 21 touchdowns. He finished his career with 42 touchdowns and ran a 4.56 40-yard dash. He also attended the Wide Receiver Academy with Sky Moore. He was a walk-on at Slippery Rock and became the best wide receiver in the school's history. The kid is a great story, and he has an incredible hype tape that he made himself. I will link it in the description below. He has good size and great hands. He isn't going to take the top off of defenses, but I actually believe he can find a home in an NFL offense as a possession guy or a slot receiver. He shows a great ability to win contested catches, attacks the ball in the air, and has the body control to consistently get his feet down on sideline receptions. He's a strong player who beats press coverage, but obviously will face an adjustment at the NFL level. He was a linebacker and safety as well as a receiver in high school. He models his game after Julian Edelman, and he just has incredible hands. The undrafted guy from Slippery Rock is a long shot to make the roster, but I hold him in high regard. He's a player that my eyes will be glued to anytime I see him at training camp or during the preseason. I am rooting for Hentry Litwin, and I think he can be a bigger and better Cole Beasley at the NFL level. Next up, we have a linebacker that we signed who was popular in mock drafts all year long and wasn't a guy that many people expected to go undrafted. Linebacker from Wisconsin, Jack Sanborn. He's over 6'1", 234 pounds, and ran a 4.7 340. He is a high floor, low ceiling type player. He isn't going to be a superstar, but if used correctly, he can be a good linebacker from day one in the NFL. He has the potential to be a starting middle linebacker, and he had a 4th to 5th round grade heading into the NFL draft. He had 228 tackles, 11.5 sacks, 4 interceptions, and 4 forced fumbles over 3 seasons as a starter at Wisconsin. He has sideline to sideline range and will be solid versus the run from day one. He can shed blocks, and he's also an above average tackler. He's also a pretty good blitzer, and he has good strength. His athleticism is limited and probably the reason he wasn't drafted. He's not slow, but he's just not a twitchy athlete. He can play zone coverage over the middle, but his man coverage skills are limited. He has great instincts and a high IQ. He checks a lot of boxes. He understands offenses and is decent in coverage. He can be our backup Mike immediately and possibly compete at Sam or backup Will spot as well. He should be a guy to keep an eye on during the preseason and training camp. If he can overcome his athletic limitations and rely on his instincts and ability, he should be able to stick around. I think he has a good chance of making the final roster. Next up, we have another guy I'm definitely going to be rooting for, Jake Tonges, the tight end from Cal. He's 6'4", 240 pounds, and ran a 4.77 40. Tonges initially entered the transfer portal, but changed his mind and bet on himself. He entered the NFL draft and has now signed a contract as an undrafted free agent with the Chicago Bears. He's a great story, and a special shout out to Jake's brother who follows the channel. Show him some love in the comments, guys. Jake is a great blocker, very physical, and loves contact. He has good size, but he needs to bulk up a bit at the NFL level. He has good hands and decent speed. He wasn't used in the passing game much, but he showed enough skills as a blocker and reliable hands that NFL teams covet in backup tight ends. Also has a solid catch radius. After Cole Kmet, we have Ryan Griffin, James O'Shaughnessy, and Jesper Horsted on the roster. Our tight end group is relatively deep, making this a battle to make the roster. However, outside of Kmet, neither of the other three guys are special. So if Tonges can make an impression as a blocker and show reliable hands, he has a chance of beating one of them out and sticking around. Jake is another guy I'll be rooting for and watching during camp and the preseason. Good luck, Jake. I think his chances of making the roster are slim, though. For my last guy, Jaylon Jones, defensive back from Ole Miss. I have a funny story on this one. Man, I got juked on this one, guys. Shout out to my boys over at the Irish Bears show. I love them and appreciate everything they do, especially the free agent thread they made. It saved me time, but there was one boo-boo on there. They have cornerback Jaylon Jones from Texas A&M listed. I watched this kid play a game and I fell in love. He's a shutdown corner and a future first round pick. However, he's only a sophomore and not the Jaylon Jones we signed. We signed Jaylon Jones from Ole Miss. So I actually watched two different Jaylon Jones for this breakdown. Let's get into this Jaylon Jones. The one we did sign, he's 5'11", 200-pound defensive back from Ole Miss. He was a 4-star recruit at cornerback coming out of high school. He played corner at first, but eventually became the starting strong safety. He has decent size and nice athleticism, but he didn't show up on tape very much, and his play time was limited. He has me way less hyped than I was about the Texas A&M corner. I apologize to this Jaylon Jones. Our cornerback room has added Kyler Gordon and already has Jalen Johnson. If Jones can show up in camp, he has a shot to make it, but I consider him a huge long shot at this point. I wasn't sure what to expect heading into my undrafted free agent breakdowns, but this first group of guys I checked out were all fun to watch. I only watched a game or two for each player, as I have to finish up my Velus Jones and Kyler Gordon videos, plus the rest of my draft pick breakdowns. However, I wanted to check in on some undrafted free agents. I think any one of these guys could make the roster, with the possibility that 3 out of the 4 could even do it. There was a lot of talent left undrafted, and even though I had only heard of 2 of these 4 guys before the draft, it was really fun to watch all 4 of them play. I will be rooting for all these guys to make the roster, and I've already narrowed down my list for my next undrafted spotlight video. I know I will be including yoked running back and Justin Fields' friend and former teammate, Master Teague. If you guys have your eye on any of the other undrafted free agents we signed and want me to do a quick breakdown on them, let me know in the comments. Again, I will be releasing my full scouting reports this weekend on Velus Jones and Kyler Gordon. Look out for those. I will do live debuts on them and hang out in the chat as well. And thanks so much for everybody who's watching the video. Please hit that like button. And until next time, guys, bear down.